So, if it wasn't understood before, let it be officially known that if you can do comedy, you can do horror. Weapons is the second horror film directed by Zach Krieger of the Whitest Kids You Know fame. It stars Julie Gardner, Josh Brolin, Benedict Wong, Alden Ehrenreich, and a number of others as it tells the story of a classroom of kids who mysteriously vanish. One night, they all leave their homes at the exact same time and run off seemingly into nowhere. We pick up on the story a month later as the town still searches for answers and is struggling with the resulting grief after such a traumatic event. Following the teacher of the classroom, one of the kids' parents, a cop investigating the case, and a few others. Now, I was looking forward to seeing Weapons. While I didn't love Krieger's last movie, Barbarian, I did thoroughly enjoy it, and saw that this director was a rising star in the horror genre, and I found the premise of Weapons infinitely fascinating. I also heard that Jordan Peele was moving heaven and earth to acquire the script so that he could direct it, allegedly losing a $38 million bidding war over it, and being so upset that he lost it that he ultimately fired his agent. This, along with the perfect 100% Rotten Tomatoes score, and the studios pushing this to a summer release, only added to my interest. And honestly, this is probably going to be one of the shortest reviews I've ever done because I want to say as little about this movie as possible. Most of the enjoyment I got out of Weapons came from me knowing very few things from it aside from the central plot. But what I will say is that it is an expertly executed thriller with a story that I found immensely engaging in a way that Barbarian wasn't. To me, Barbarian was a great thrill ride that didn't have the most satisfying of narratives, kinda hurting its replay value for me. Now, there are a few things that I should say in order to prepare you for the kind of tone you should expect going in. I mentioned earlier how the director came from the comedy world, and you can 100% tell. Because just like Barbarian, Weapons has an undercurrent of comedy that helps balance out the heavier elements of the story. Trying to find that balance is incredibly hard to nail, but when it's done well, and it's done perfectly here. When watching it, I could tell that my audience didn't really know that they were even supposed to be laughing at first, but by the movie's insane end, they were fully on board. And of course, the entire cast is stellar. Gardner plays the role of the troubled teacher well, bringing a heavy sense of vulnerability to her performance. I was going into Weapons expecting her to be the central protagonist of the story, but while a lot of the plot events surround her character, this is definitely more of an ensemble piece that follows multiple perspectives over the course of a few days. This narrative structure takes an already compelling tale and makes it far more engaging, in a way that another recent horror movie, Strange Darling, didn't. Josh Brolin is fantastic, but at this point, we always know he's going to be great in a movie. He also has one of the funniest line deliveries I've ever heard in a recent film. And my boy Alden Ehrenreich is an absolute star. You can tell that the director pulled a lot of influence from John C. Reilly's character from Magnolia into this character, but he's far less sympathetic. This is one of the key takeaways I got from Weapons. This is ultimately a tale about very flawed people, but it's done in a way that makes them feel like actual people and less like caricatures. The cast did an absolutely phenomenal job at portraying this. For me, the absolute standout was Austin Abrams' character as the strung-out drug dealer. As someone who has lived in both the Philadelphia and Milwaukee regions, I can safely say that this performance was extremely accurate. So yeah, the cast is all great and the technical aspects are outstanding. When it comes to flaws, I can honestly say I don't have many. All I'll say is that I look forward to the day when studios don't feel the need to fill their horror movies with dream sequences that don't do much to further the story along. There's a number of those dream scenes and Weapons that I felt added nothing to the mystery, only to add a few pointless jump scares. There's also quite a bit of elements thrown into the film in both these dream sequences and out of them, and while most of them do gel into a cohesive singular theme, there are a few lingering threads that I still don't fully grasp the relevance of. Several rewatches and YouTube explanation videos will definitely be in order, especially when it comes to Weapons' conclusion. I can see some people being turned off by the over-the-top nature of it, but honestly, if you're already on board with the story and tone, then at that point, it makes perfect sense. I could definitely see audiences taking issues with the overall plot revelations that occur in the film's second half. In the movie's earlier build-up, there's a sense that the material is more elevated than your standard horror picture, but certain elements come into play that sort of change that. I, on the other hand, was fully hooked with the direction Weapons takes. Horror has always been a genre that takes these more fantastical elements and story beats and uses them to tell a meaningful story with a purpose. Night of the Living Dead isn't just a zombie movie, it's a movie about corporate consumerism. Poltergeist isn't just a ghost story, it's a story examining suburban life in 80s America. Weapons falls into the same vein of those tales, using beats that we've seen from other horror flicks, but in a way that is highly engaging and well directed. And I did want to take this opportunity to talk about reactions to horror movies as of late through online hype. Now, with Weapons initially debuting with a perfect 100% Rotten Tomatoes score, I have no doubt that large numbers of people are going to decry it as massively overrated. Heck, I'm already seeing that occurring online now, much in the same way that people reacted to Longlegs last year. Now look, Longlegs is far from a perfect film, suffering from a weak ending that didn't tie things together in the best way, but I still really dug it and have been defending it ever since. And with its stellar marketing campaign, there was an expectation that people were going in to see the next Shining of our day. I will say that I liked Weapons more than Longlegs, and felt that it concluded in a much more satisfying way, but I will say that I see similar responses occurring here. I just warn that in general, you should avoid falling into the hype trap of going in expecting to see the scariest thing ever when you see these kinds of films. Instead, try to nail down what the filmmakers are trying to convey and engage with the story that way. For me, Weapons worked, and has cemented Krieger as one of the great horror directors of the modern age. Go out and see it when you can, and avoid online spoilers like the plague. I'm gonna give Weapons an A-.